This is Reza Aslan for Aslan Media. It's Friday, July 2nd. Well, it's official. General David Petreaus is now commander of the war in Afghanistan. And while we have a new man in that position, we don't have a new plan. Of course, the plan for Afghanistan has been for quite some time now counterinsurgency. It does matter that David Petreaus literally wrote the book on counterinsurgency, but we do have to understand that counterinsurgency, which involves protecting the population above all else, making sure that the cities, the urban areas are guarded by troops, and that there is a relationship between the military and the government, is something that doesn't seem to be working very well in Afghanistan thus far. The one major example of this, the one sort of platform that was supposed to prove the new counterinsurgency plan, the assault on Marja, has been described by General McChrystal, the man that General Petreaus is replacing, as a bleeding ulcer. That does not bode well for the planned attack on Kandahar coming at the end of this summer. So the question is, are we doing the right thing in Afghanistan? Do we have the right plan in place? Now, it is important to understand that the one thing about counterinsurgency that very few people seem to be wanting to talk about is that it is often a very long process. It sometimes takes a decade or more. And yet, President Obama has promised that in about 16 months or so, we will begin the withdrawal of troops from Afghanistan. And in General Petreaus's comments in Congress, where he was actually given the go-ahead to become the commander in Afghanistan, he said that he was going to stick to that timeline. In fact, he said that that would be the beginning of the withdrawal of Afghanistan. Now, meanwhile, there is another war going on in Iraq. Funny how the Iraq war has now become the forgotten war, and Afghanistan is the war we're focusing on. It's a bit of a switch there. But in Iraq, we're supposed to have about 50,000 troops by the end of the summer, and we're supposed to begin removing all of our troops by October. Today also marks the one-year anniversary of the withdrawal of American forces from Iraq's cities, the handover of protection of the cities to the Iraqi military itself. And we know that over the last few months, violence has increased in Iraq while the political gridlock has remained pretty much stagnant. So we have two wars on our hands, two essentially failed strategies in both, and we are essentially getting to the point where we are looking at more of the same. So the question I think that we all have to answer, especially those of us in America, coming upon 4th of July, the anniversary of the birth of our country, is whether this war in Afghanistan, and indeed the war in Iraq, are actually worth it. And if they are worth it, whether we are willing to spend the manpower, the years, and the billions of dollars necessary in order to see some kind of stability and security in Iraq and Afghanistan. I've said this before and I'll say it again. The answer to that question has a lot more to do with who we are as Americans and the promises that we have made to both the Iraqis and the Afghan people than it has to do with the facts on the ground in either Iraq or Afghanistan. Happy 4th of July, America. For Reza Aslan, for Aslan Media, this is Reza Aslan.